Well, welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And today is a day I've been waiting for a very long time. I am here with my good friend Jordan in the Devils game-worn goalie mask vault. That's right, my friends. Jordan is a compulsive sick collector like myself and has managed to accumulate quite the array of Devils game-worn masks from over the years. And I am pleased to be in his vault right now, and we're going to show you some of these masks from over the years.
I'm thrilled to be on the channel. Obviously a huge fan of Running with the Devils, and I've been looking forward to this day for quite a while, and I'm excited to share some of these awesome masks with everybody.
Well, kick us off, my friend. What are we going to start off with for the people here today?
All right, so the first one we're going to start off with is actually the oldest mask in my collection, which isn't that old. It dates back to 1993, but it's probably one of my favorites, and for the sake of admiring this beautiful paint job, we may as well start off with this one. So this is Mike Dunham's Albany River Rats and New Jersey Devils mask from his first 3 professional seasons.
Look at that paint job. I remember it well.
Yeah, Devils fans may be a little bit more familiar with his third Devils mask, which was a similar devil face with green eyes and a crazy tongue. And that's the mask that he wore when he had the bulk of his NHL action in 1997, 1998. But this is the one that he started out with in the 93-94 season. He actually was playing with Team USA in the Olympics. So when the Olympics ended, he signed with the Devils for a 5-game stint in Albany with the River Rats. And this is the mask he was wearing in his professional debut in the AHL with the Albany River Rats. He wore it again the next season in 1994-95. Which is a notable season, as astute Devils fans will know. Obviously, the Stanley Cup for the New Jersey Devils, but one of my favorite little tidbits of Devils history is that the Albany River Rats also won the Calder Cup in 1994-95, which to me is just incredible. The fact that your NHL team and your AHL team,
very rare double up,
wins the championship in the same season, that just doesn't happen.
Organizational domination.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the AHL guys who were bummed they didn't get the call up that spring, they got to hoist something of their own. And Mike Dunham was actually wearing this mask. He wore it throughout the playoffs. He split time with Cory all year long, but he wore this mask in the clinching game of the Calder Cup.
Very nice.
This was the mask he was wearing. He wore it again the following season, 95-96, before he finally switched to a new mask in 96-97. So, he primarily wore this with the River Rats. He got into a couple preseason games with the Devils, so there's some cool shots of him in the Devils jersey wearing this mask. But you really can't beat this mask. It's just a very, very mean-looking, intimidating Devil.
Give him a little 360. A little 360. What a beautiful paint job.
Just really, really nice
Mike
paint.
Dunham, one of my favorite Devils backups from over the years.
And another thing that's cool about this mask too is if you look at this snarling face with the teeth on top and the teeth on bottom, does it remind you of any NHL goalies who had a very snarling mask? I was going for somebody from the 90s, and the answer is Curtis Joseph.
I was gonna say Cujo.
His snarling Cujo dog face, and that's an iconic NHL mask. And it's no coincidence that this Dunham mask kind of looks like it, because it was painted by Frank Cipra and Marlene Brown. They were an artist, a duo throughout the 90s, and they're the ones who did the Cujo mask, and they obviously had a similar approach to this Dunham mask. Frank Cipra is one of the most well-known mask painters there is. And then Marlene Brown, she would go on to get married and paint under the name Marlene Ross, and she would have her own painting career. She actually was the one who painted all of Marty's Olympic masks.
Oh, very nice.
So 98 Nagano, 2002, every Olympic
Salt
appearance
Lake
Marty
City,
made.
the 50-year drought was broken.
Yeah, so
I might have
those
a cool item to share in the future from that very Olympics.
Those masks were also painted by Marlene. So here's an early piece from Frank Cipra and Marlene Ross.
Very, very nice.
It's just absolutely beautiful.
I'll just put that in my car on the way out.
So I guess we'll go.
What do we got next?
This is my earliest mask. Like I said, it's from the early 90s. Mike Dunham, a relatively well-known goalie. We're now gonna jump to a goalie who isn't quite as well-known.
A little off the grid?
A little off the grid. Never actually played an NHL game for the New Jersey Devils, but was in the organization for many, many years, and this is Ari Ahonen's mask from the 2001-2002 season.
What a promising prospect at the time. I remember it well when we drafted him.
Yeah, I remember too. Obviously, as a kid growing up, huge Marty fan, but knowing that the Devils selected a goalie in the first round of the draft, you got excited about that. It was a little bit of a puzzling pick given Marty and his longevity.
I was like, I don't see the end coming anytime soon, but apparently they wanted to, be safe.
And so Ahonen, he was going to need to be patient if he wanted his shot in the NHL, and he stuck around for 5 seasons before he left for Europe. He never did get his shot, but this is a mask from his first pro season with the Albany Riverets, 2001-2002. It's actually painted by David Gunnarsson of Dave Art. So anyone watching this who knows anything about masks is familiar with the name Dave Art. He basically has a monopoly on NHL masks today. He paints the vast majority of masks for NHL goalies today. And this was a very, very early piece that he did in 2001, kind of before he hit it big and before he got a stranglehold on all of those clients. It's got this grimacing, snarling devil on top. He doesn't really look that intimidating. He kind of looks scared, I guess, because pucks are flying at him.
A little cartoonish.
And so I guess it's only apt that there's a couple chips missing from his face here. He did end up all those pucks he was afraid of. He apparently took a few off the noggin. But this is a cool mask. Like I said, Ahonen wore it. He would have worn it in 2001 training camp for the Devils. But unfortunately, I don't have any photos of him wearing this mask as a Devil, because what happened in September 2001 was 9/11, and that closed training camp to the public. So no one was allowed into camp, so no photos exist of Ahonen wearing this mask as a Devil. Do have a couple pictures of him wearing it with the Albany Riverets. And then after a couple of months, he got a new mask, I guess, with some paint that he liked a little bit better. But speaking of 9/11, one cool feature on this mask here is you have this memorial sticker on the back, and this is for the 2 Los Angeles Kings scouts who passed away on 9/11. So Ahonen has that sticker on the back here. Here's a blast from the past. Always felt bad for Ari that he never got his shot in the NHL. Dressed in plenty of preseason games, never got his chance at real NHL action, and that's probably eats him up a little bit. It's got to be frustrating to be stuck behind a guy like Marty.
It was, I mean, if you're a goalie and at that time or any time during the career, if you were drafted by the Devils, I mean, you had to think to yourself, shit, like the starting job is not becoming available anytime soon, and even the backup job, depending on the year, the backups may have played 10, 12 games max, and in some seasons 3 or 4. Marty getting 78, 79 starts, kind of unheard of. So yeah, the worst job in the NHL for sure for that whole career was the backup on the New Jersey Devils, because Marty just commanded the net so often. Yeah,
undoubtedly exciting to come into a winning organization as the Devils were in that time, but certainly not too promising for getting any playing time. And Ahonen, I think he dressed 18 times as a backup throughout his NHL career. Never saw 1 second of ice time, which I wish the Devils had thrown him a bone at some point. I mean, there was one stretch in 2005, 2006 where Marty was hurt, and Clemmensen got a couple starts in a row. I think Clemmensen started 4 or 5, maybe 6 games in a row. And those games didn't go great. There were
one year he played a lot, I thought.
The year that Clemmensen played a lot was 08-09.
Okay.
This was 05-06, where he didn't play.
Yeah,
he didn't play a ton, but there was a stretch Marty had a minor injury. Clemmensen got a couple starts in a row, and Ahonen backed him up. I think there was like a 2 or 3 game losing streak in there. I was waiting for Ahonen to get his chance. He never got it. I don't love that, but that's okay. He still lives on in Devils infamy as a very high pick who didn't quite cut it. So I guess we'll keep going in chronological order.
Give him a little
here.
360 on the way out there. What a work of art!
Got the brick wall on the side there. Big Devils logo. It's really nice, glossy metallic paint. A lot of little subtle sparkles in there. Kind of a trademark of Dave Art. He's known for all those effects and things like that. So up next, we're gonna go Scott Clemmensen. Very unknown mask. He only wore this mask very briefly. This was Scott Clemmensen's first painted mask as a Devil.
The Clemmer.
So I think we all remember when Clemmensen came into the league, 2001, 2002. He was Marty's backup. Barely played at all. He was sporting an all-black mask, so it was just plain black. and he wore that plain black mask throughout his first professional season in 2001, 2002. Spent a little bit of time with the Devils. I think there was a game early in that season where Marty got pulled against Washington, and Clemmensen came in and made his NHL debut a little bit earlier than anybody expected. It might have been the first game of the year. If it wasn't the first game of the year, it was one of the first couple of games. He was wearing a black mask. I'm a huge goalie fan. I love the fact that goalies can show a little bit of their personalities and express themselves. It's really the only individualistic thing about hockey when it comes to equipment, as far as, being able to just go and do whatever you want on the mask.
Ovechkin puts yellow laces in, and that was
true.
about as far. But I mean, what is that really?
The tinted visor, the yellow laces. You can express yourself, obviously, but goalies kind of they're a unique situation where they can, buck the trend a little bit and do something different. And so the fact that Clemmensen was sporting a black mask in his first Devils action wasn't that exciting to me.
Not at all.
But fortunately, for 2002, 2003, he got this beautiful mask. This mask was painted by an artist named Stefan Bergeron. His company's called Griff Airbrush. And he's best known, actually, he's Marc-Andre Fleury's go-to painter. So even, in an era today where Dave Art has a stranglehold on a lot of the masks, there are still goalies who have their specific guys they prefer. And Stefan Bergeron is Marc-Andre Fleury's artist. He did this mask for Scott Clemmensen. I actually spoke to Scott about this mask, and he told me that he didn't have any say in the mask, which is funny because I just finished talking about how masks are a chance for goalies to express themselves.
What, did Lou design this?
Yeah, I guess on Lou Lamoriello's Devils of the late 90s and early 2000s, I guess it wasn't quite, he didn't have the free reign that some goalies on some other teams may have had. So the way Scott told the story is that the Devils ordered this mask for him. He had no say in the design. It showed up one day.
So Lou.
Showed up one day in his locker. And Scott said, no offense to Mr. Bergeron, but Scott said he didn't love the design. So he only wore this mask for a month, maybe 2 months at that. It says he wore it for a couple games in Albany. I don't have any photos of him wearing it in Albany. He later on that year switched to a little bit more fierce devil with big curly horns, kind of like ram horns. But Scott did wear this in the brief time he wore this mask. He did wear it with the New Jersey Devils. He was called up.
Would you look at that?
He was called up in December of 2002. He served as backup for 2 games. I think Cory Schwab was hurt or sick. And so Scott did dress with the big team in a couple games wearing this mask before he retired it. And then obviously Scott would go on to have a pretty decent career. And he, his day with the Devils was far from done. He had, 2 or 3 stints with the Devils over the years. And so I guess we'll break the chronological order of this mask show, and we'll head to another Scott Clemmensen mask. And this design is going to be a little bit more recognizable to Devils fans who remember Scott Clemmensen. Like I said, this mask only wore it twice as a backup. You
guys think he'll notice if I take one or two?
Nobody's really seen it before, but here's Clemmensen. This is more of his iconic, if you can call it that, Devils mask design. So
look at those sparkles.
Yeah, it might not show up on the camera, but this thing is just shimmering and glistening, and it's just absolutely beautiful, the paint job.
It's almost reminiscent of like a car.
Yeah, it does. It does
like that car finish.
It is absolutely beautiful paint. So, goalie mask aficionados will recognize this design as, Felix Potvin's design. Scott always liked
the cat.
Yeah, Felix the cat Potvin. Scott liked that design growing up, and so, when it came towards the later half of his career, he started mirroring that design on this mask. This is a design that Scott wore starting in 2006-2007 with the Devils. He had another one in 08-09 that's when Marty was out for a long time, and Clemmensen went on an incredible run for the Devils.
He held it down.
He totally saved their season. Everybody thought the Devils were going to turn to Kevin Weeks when Marty was hurt, but Clemmensen was at the time playing in the AHL for the Lowell Devils, got called up to back up Weeks and stole the starting job from Weeks and went on a tear. I mean, he was shutting out top teams night in and night out.
It may have been like the best kind of little stretch of his career.
It was. It absolutely was. I mean, he obviously saw more playing time later on with the Florida Panthers. But as far as performance, that was the best stretch in his career, and that's what earned him that contract with Florida
for sure.
Later on. But anyway, this was his third variation of the Felix Potvin, big eye, big teeth design, and he wore this in the 2014-2015 season, which was his last season in the NHL. He, was battling in camp for the backup spot with Keith Kincaid. He won the backup spot, but his first few appearances that season didn't go very well. He actually had 2 masks made that year. He had this one made, and he had the inverse of it. So the red and the black were flipped out, and he planned to wear one at home and one on the road based on the jersey colors they were wearing. So he played 1 game in this mask. It was in Calgary. It was an overtime loss against the Flames. He had a couple other NHL appearances that year in his other mask. Then he got sent down. Keith Kincaid got called up, and that was the end of Scott Clemmensen's NHL career. He finished out the year with the Albany Devils wearing this mask. So this mask saw plenty of action. I think he played at least 15 or 20 games in the AHL with this mask as well. But this is a very cool one. I love this design. I love the way it sparkles and shimmers. Love Clemmensen too, as a goalie, as a person. He's a super nice guy. A nice little Easter egg on this mask here is this little parrot on the back.
Well, show him when you do the 360 up close. You do a little sparkly 360.
Clemmensen was a big Jimmy Buffett fan. He's a parrot head, as they call them. So
that's the parrot heads, huh?
He gets,
wasting away in Margaritaville.
He gets his parrot on the back. He gets his number. It's his heart designs. This mask was painted by... they saw the front.
I mean, you got to show it a little close. You got to see if we capture some of those sparkles. I'm shimmering.
I'm flying blind here.
It's shimmering. That's all right.
I can't see...
Right around where you are is good.
How the framing is in that video, but we can maybe splice in a couple of up-close pictures. But yeah, beautiful mask by Mark Hart of Hart Designs. He's a Canadian artist. He did some other work. He actually did some of Cory Schneider's masks when he was on the Vancouver Canucks. And Mark Hart was Scott's go-to mask artist over the years. He did pretty much all of his Devils masks besides that original Bergeron mask. Super happy to have this one because Scott is a guy who hangs on to his masks. Some goalies like to collect their masks. There's only a couple of Scott Clemmensen masks, out there in the wild, so to speak. I think there's 3. There's 2 Devils, which are the 2 you just saw, and there's 1 Florida Panthers mask that has escaped Scott's collection.
What do we got next on the menu here?
So we're gonna segue. I said that was Scott's mask in the 2014-15 season. I have another mask here from the 2014-15 season. This is probably, it's tough between the Dunham that we let off this episode with and this Cory Schneider mask.
That predates your fandom, so I think it should be going home with me.
It does.
Personally, before he became a fan in 2000.
Yeah, full disclosure, I became a Devils fan in 1999.
Oh, 99, excuse me, I said 2000.
So I never saw Dunham play in that mask.
Has no place in the collection,
but
in my opinion.
I did collect hockey cards as a kid, and there's a really cool set of AHL hockey cards. I think it's made by Edge Ice.
The die-cut masks?
It's masks.
Yeah, those are
and
sick.
I had, as a kid, I had there's a card featuring that mask, and it's the entire card is a close-up of the mask, and it's absolutely wild to me. I loved that card as a kid.
It was sick.
So then to one day, as an adult, own the actual mask that was featured on that card is pretty cool. But I digress. This is, along with the Dunham, probably my favorite mask in the collection. This is Cory Schneider's Devils mask from 2014-2015. This was, in my opinion, probably his best season as a Devil.
Such wasted talent on some of those Devils teams, right?
Absolutely. I don't think
he
Cory
was playing well.
I don't think Cory gets enough respect from Devils fans.
It's because of how it ended. Everyone remembers the more recent.
He obviously struggled with hip injuries. I also think I'm talking to you Devils fans. I think a lot of Devils fans were unfairly bitter towards Cory Schneider for kind of ousting Marty from the crease. You know what I mean? In 2013, 14, with the tandem of Schneider and Brodeur.
I might be one of those people. I mean, that kind of was what got the ball rolling, I think. And the rumor has it, Marty found out we were getting Schneider on draft day when it happened.
He did.
And Marty now realized over the loudspeaker that he's now, wait a minute, I have some competition. And if you're Johan Hedberg, you're like, I don't have a job anymore, all at once. That was a dirty move by Lou, in my opinion.
That Cory Schneider trade, kudos to Lou for trying to extend the Devils' window of contention. You know, they had that storybook run in 2012 that fell short. Lou wanted to shore up, Lou could see the writing on the wall. He saw Marty's career was winding down. He wanted to shore up that goaltending position, and he had a trade chip. The 9th overall pick?
It was high.
It was a high pick that year, and he used it to bring in Cory Schneider, who was
9.
An elite goalie. He wasn't just a good goalie. He was an elite goalie. He was a top 5
But he was also
goalie.
in a tandem in Vancouver as well.
He was in a tandem with Roberto Luongo. So poor Cory Schneider, man. A really good talent, stuck behind Luongo in Vancouver and briefly stuck behind Martin Brodeur in New Jersey. Arguably 2 of the best goalies to ever play the game, Brodeur and Luongo.
I mean, for sure.
Schneider was goalie partners with both of them. But Cory Schneider outplayed Martin Brodeur in that 13-14 season. Marty's my favorite Devils player of all time, but I'm objective enough to be able to say his career was winding down by that point. Schneider outplayed him that year. And the acquisition of Schneider is what led to Marty's exit from New Jersey. I mean, Marty would have hit 700 NHL wins, and he would have done it as a Devil if Lou Lamoriello hadn't traded for Cory Schneider. Again, kudos to Lou. It was a great move for trying to extend the window of competitiveness. It didn't work out because the roster in front of Schneider over those ensuing years was absolutely terrible.
Doo-doo. Straight doo-doo.
And again, with all due respect to those Devils players, still a big fan of them, still insanely talented, simply not a contending roster.
For sure.
And so, not to get too far off the mask, but this is a topic that has always kind of bugged me a little bit. Love Marty, love Schneider. The fact that the acquisition of Schneider sent Marty packing is crazy. Marty actually requested a trade that year.
His feelings were hurt. And this is one of my biggest... I mean, listen, I love Lou Lamoriello, architect of 3 Stanley Cup championship teams, countless division titles, deep playoff runs. But I do feel not having the conversation with Marty and kind of trying to massage it a little bit prior to getting Schneider, I think kind of led to the ill feelings Marty had from the whole thing. Because like you said, great, you're not going to start 65, 70 games anymore. But as you said, had Marty kind of accepted the tandem, or even if it was a backup and he played, 35 games or something like that, he easily would have been at that 700, as a Devil and retired as a Devil. And now forever we have to live on with, the stupid St. Louis Blues legend, Martin Brodeur photos on the Blues, which makes me sick every time I see it.
And good for Marty. He got to go and experience NHL hockey in another city, and I think he enjoyed that taste of NHL hockey somewhere else. But I think
started a career as an executive, which led to him coming back.
But I think he also saw that the grass wasn't greener like he thought it was. I mean, I think he enjoyed, he kind of had to scratch that itch and get out of New Jersey.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I think, all roads led back to New Jersey, and now he's back with us. I say us, like I work for the team.
Yeah, we're part of the organization.
But anyway, Marty requested a trade that year in 2013, 2014. Lou did not trade him. I don't know if he couldn't find a suitable partner, if he just couldn't bring himself to trade Brodeur. And I think Marty was hurt and upset. I think there was some bad blood. And there's a big misconception that Lou Lamoriello drove Marty out of New Jersey. It's simply not the case. Lou offered...
He was contributory.
I mean, the acquisition of Schneider
and not telling bigger than not telling him beforehand.
Right, but we all know Lou's mantra, and it's no one individual is above the team, and that's even Martin Brodeur. Lou makes the moves that he wants. It's
great, but
he didn't tell Jaromir Jagr, one of the all-time greats, that he traded him.
And I feel like
in 2015. But my point is Lou Lamoriello offered Martin Brodeur a contract in the offseason in the summer of 2014, and Marty said no thanks. Marty thought he could find a starting role elsewhere, and he couldn't. Marty sat on his couch for a couple months until the Blues ran into injury trouble.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't just come back and take it at some point after.
If Marty just swallows his pride...
He had moved on mentally.
If Marty swallows his pride, agrees to tandem with Cory Schneider, or God forbid, take a backup role of 30 starts a year, he hits 700 wins easy, he retires as a Devil, he gets a warm and fuzzy send-off. The end of his career tainted a little bit by that Blues stint. We all love Marty. He's back with the Devils now.
That didn't mean anything.
It's water under the bridge. It's fine. But anyway, let's get to the mask. This is an absolutely beautiful mask. It's painted by David Gunnarsson of Dave Art. And this mask reminds me a lot of Jacob Markstrom's new Devils mask. You recently did a video on Markstrom.
I like the Markstrom mask a lot.
The Markstrom mask is incredible.
It's got a little hidden, the skull I didn't realize before.
The Markstrom mask is incredible. One day you'll see it in these cases. But this mask is kind of similar to it in that the title of this mask, I think he titles all of his masks somewhere. Where's the title of this one? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's called Jersey Devil.
It's got some nice sparkles too.
There's a lot
Jersey
of
Devil.
here.
How original.
Yeah, this is called the Jersey Devil. And it has, I don't know if you can see, like, there's our Jersey Devil. It's very reminiscent of Markstrom's mask. You have this really evil-looking skull there. That's one interpretation of the Jersey Devil. You have this, horse-headed winged creature here. Right here, this guy right here, this is the exact devil for Markstrom's mask. Right here, the most famous depiction of the Jersey Devil, so to speak, from that legend. So, Markstrom's mask right now is absolutely beautiful.
Show him the backplate. The backplate's kind of cool too.
There's no denying that, but Cory Schneider did it first, and here it is. He's got his None Shall Pass, his Boston Strong. This is just an absolutely beautiful mask. It's really cool too because from a distance, you get the big devil horn from the logo, or the tail rather, the big devil tail. You can see that from a mile away. You can be up in the 400 level and you can see that. But then up close, you get all this intricate artwork, which is just really, really nice. So I like this mask because it's a blend of, big, bold, popping logos. Here's the big devil logo on the side, and then intricate, beautiful detail up close. So yeah, that's one of my favorites. I
wouldn't mind taking this one home too.
That's a nice one for sure.
Yeah, a lot of nice little sparkles.